Thank you to Cheryl. I'm assuming Canadian, and it's funny because Canada is seducing California, and I approve of this. However, Cheryl is telling us that Cybertruck body actually has Canadian citizenship as well. I did not know this because Canada isn't really where I look when I have interest in research. However, this is my blind spot, and it's why it's so important to have this community, because my gaps you got and your gaps I got, right? It's a community and we're restoring this shit. Even internationally, if Cheryl is Canadian. But why this is important is because if the United States denaturalizes him, because hypothetically there is argument that he lied in order to get his status, which means that if the United States felt that he was such an immense national security threat, which if there was fancy stuff, he would be, it means that he can get denaturalized. In that reality, I said that he would default to his South African citizenship. However, he would also have his Canadian citizenship. In that reality, both Canada and South Africa can get him. South Africa is a party to both the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. Now, Canada is a member of the ICC. It is not a member of the ICJ. If I am wrong, please correct me. The International Criminal Court is independent from the United Nations. International Court of Justice is an organ of the United Nations. Now, the issue here with a lot of people throwing around the Hague when it comes to our situation is the fact that the International Criminal Court only prosecutes extremely serious crimes like war crimes, like genocide, like crimes against humanity, and I would say it would be a stretch to say that election fancy stuff counts as that. Now, the most appropriate one would be the ICJ, so the International Court of Justice. It hears cases between countries in regards to international law. However, that gets complicated if a country is not a member state of the International Court of Justice that recognizes, oh, you have jurisdiction over these crimes, right? But rather, I would say that if he is found under the jurisdiction of South Africa, I would say that would be much easier to get him under these courts versus Canada. I feel like it would be kind of non-traditional. This situation is unprecedented, so I want to leave room for me to not fully be aware of the capabilities of these organs, right? But the much more reality is that if it has to be Canada or the United States, it will be under our own court jurisdictions, where that's the official one. I don't know how Canada works if they have military courts, but for the US military courts. Another possibility is also an ad hoc criminal court, which basically is a temporary court that is created for a certain purpose. An example is the Nuremberg trials, which is where the mustache man officials were prosecuted for, very serious crimes that they did during the Holocaust. Another example is the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. That was in response to the unaliving of over 800,000 Tutsi Rwandans in 1994, literally in 100 days by the Hutu Rwandans. Why? Because they wanted to make Rwanda great again, literally. Neighbors against neighbors, machetes, all of that stuff. So really, when it comes to the solution to this, it is very unprecedented, which is why I would say, as my other video position, that they definitely would have invoked Article 4 of NATO. However, how Article 5 would be invoked is in question. I'm not going to say that they wouldn't invoke it, but it wouldn't be in the traditional sense, because there's so many factors, so many new factors like election fancy stuff, which traditionally wasn't taken into account. But also the fact that it's not just these people within the United States affecting the politics and peace and security of other member states or even the world in general, but the United States. Because before, usually if it only affects other countries, we're just like, but if it affects us, that's different. So in that reality, it's possible that JB and NATO came into an agreement, and if there is any reaction on that level, it's gonna come from a pre-authorization that was already given. And I don't want us to get caught up with the complexities of all of this, of how it's going to occur, because the last line of defense that isn't we the people is the military. And in this reality where we had to depend on foreign entities for evidence for us to rectify what occurred to us, that means that our branches, our channels are so compromised that we couldn't do it ourselves. So that tells us a lot in regards to how unstable our governance is and what it's going to take for us to rectify that, because normally, traditionally, the United States is not like leaning on other countries to help us, even though technically we do like it. However, we like to be in control. So the reality that we allowed for a tyrant to come in means that it was so compromised that we could not prevent it from occurring. So now we have to do it post, right? And that tells us a lot because it means that really there is a lot of compromise in the branches, that this reality of doing it traditionally, of removing him, was not possible. So we had to go a non-traditional route. Since the beginning, I've told all of you, unprecedented times call for what? Unprecedented lawful justice. And this is what we're seeing, right? Things that are shifting and things that are seemingly impossible. However, the only thing that's occurring is the fact that unprecedented issues are occurring where we didn't have a resolution, which means that we required unprecedented solution, right? This reality, it is invoking Article 4 of NATO, however, also invoking Article 5, but not in the traditional, we're gonna fight type of way, but in a reality in where the United States pre authorized or will authorize actions in order to rectify and restore the peace and security that has been lost from all of this election fancy stuff. And I feel like the best case scenario is to continue pressuring, continue overwhelming all of these different digital channels, signing all of these petitions, annoying all of our politicians. Definitely make sure to shame and never vote for any Democrats who voted yes to elect a King Mango appointee, and also commit to voting against any Democrats who has or will vote yes on HR 23 on the ICC one. Because if the Democrats have been scared of mangoes, we need them to be scared of us. And that comes with actually standing our ground and saying, hey, you voted like this, you're not gonna be in office anymore. No, it's not that I'm gonna threaten you with this. You're just not gonna be in office anymore. And we have to commit to this because they are the ones, they are the Trojan horses who have allowed for the mangoes to have so much power. So we have to remove them and get newer people in. If we're lucky, that's gonna be a wake up call for them and they're going to rectify, right? But unless they do, that's it. For Canadians, assuming Cheryl is Canadian, please keep us Americans in the loop because there's definitely a cyber wall going around and it's new to us. It is new to us. I'm a scholar of conflict, so I've studied about it. I experienced it when I was in Britain when the whole Prince William was cheating on Princess Kate kind of thing. Like on my America FYP, it was there, but in my British one, it was nowhere. It was nowhere in the news. But I knew going there that it was going to be like that because the monarchy has a lot of power. But we don't have a monarchy. Apparently, we do now because the algorithms are all effed up all over the place. So we don't really know what's happening outside. So please keep us updated, and especially, please, Cheryl, if you don't have Blue Sky or any Canadian, or in case Cheryl isn't Canadian, if you have Blue Sky, please, as soon as it drops, please message me the report. You cannot DM me here because it's blocked because I was mean to a mango. But please, thank you.